Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are preparing for a technical interview, especially one focused on data structures and algorithms, then you are in the right place. In this video, we will go through some of the most commonly asked DSA interview questions, along with clear and concise explanations to help you understand the concepts behind them. Whether you are a beginner or someone revising before an interview, this video will provide you with valuable insights. I will not only give you the answer but also break down the thought process behind them. Because in interviews, it's not just about getting the right answer but also about explaining your approach effectively. So grab a notebook, stay till the end and let's make sure you are fully prepared. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content like this. Now without further ado, let's dive into our first question. Alright, let's start with the basics. Before diving into complex structures, it is important to understand what a data structure actually is. A data structure is a way of organizing and storing data to perform operations efficiently. Think of it as a container that holds data in a specific way to make access and manipulation easier. It also defines the relationship between the data and the operations that can be performed on it. Now that we know what a data structure is, let's compare two fundamental structures, arrays and linked list. An array is a fixed size data structure that stores elements of the same type in contiguous memory locations. This makes access fast using an index but resizing difficult. On the other hand, a linked list is a dynamic data structure where elements called nodes are connected through pointers. It allows efficient insertion and deletion but requires extra memory for pointers. Now, data structures comes in various forms, so let's look at the different types. There are several types of data structures including arrays, linked lists, stacks, queues, trees, graphs, heaps, and hash tables. Each of these serves a unique purpose in solving different computational problems. Let's now focus on one of the most commonly used structures, the stack. A stack is a linear data structure that follows the last in, first out LIFO principle. Imagine a stack of plates. When you add a plate, it goes on top, and when you remove one, you take the topmost plate first. The key operations in a stack are push, adds an element to the top, pop, remove the top element, and pick, retrieves the top element without removing it. Now let's look at another important structure, the queue. A queue is a linear data structure that follows the first in, the first out FIFO principle. It works like a real-life queue. Whoever joins first gets served first. The main operations in a queue are NQ, add an element to the rear, DQ, removes an element from the front. While queues are simple, there are some special variations like the circular queue, which solves a common limitations. Let's talk about that next. A circular queue is a variation of queue where the last element connects break to the first, forming a loop. This helps utilize space efficiently, unlike a normal queue where unused space can be a problem due to shifting operations. Now, there is another type of queue that prioritizes elements based on certain conditions. That brings us to the priority queue. A priority queue is a special type of queue where each element has a priority. Instead of following the normal FIFO order, elements are dequeued based on their priority. For example, in a hospital emergency room, patients with critical conditions are treated first, regardless of their arrival time. Next, let's return to linked list and explore their difference from arrays. A linked list is a collection of nodes where each node contains data and a pointer to the next node. Unlike arrays, linked lists are dynamic in size, meaning they can grow or shrink as needed without reallocating memory. However, accessing elements in a linked list takes longer because you have to transverse the nodes sequentially. Now, linked list comes in different forms, one of which is the doubly linked list. Let's understand this. A doubly linked list is an advanced form of linked list where each node has two pointers, one pointing to the next node and another pointing to the previous node. This makes traversal easier in both directions, unlike a singly linked list which can only be transversed forward. Finally, now let's discuss one of the most fundamental hierarchical data structures, the binary tree. A binary tree is a tree data structure where each node has at most two children, commonly referred to as the left and right child. Binary trees are widely used in applications such as searching, sorting, and hierarchical data representations. And with that, we have covered some of the most common DSA interview questions. And now let's move to the next question. What are the types of binary trees? There are several types of binary trees, each with unique properties. First, full binary tree. Every node has either 0 or 2 children. Second, complete binary tree. All levels are filled except possibly the last, which is filled from the left to right. Third, perfect binary tree. All interval nodes have exactly 2 children and all leaves are the same level. Fourth one is balanced binary tree. The height difference between left and right subtrees is minimal. And the fifth, degenerate pathological binary tree. Every parent node has only one child, making it behave like a linked list. Speaking of binary trees, one special type that plays a crucial role in priority based operation is that heap. So, what is a heap and how is it different from a binary tree? A heap is a complete binary tree where each parent node follows the heap property. So, first one is max heap. The parent node is always greater than its children. Second, min heap. The parent node is always smaller than its children. Unlike a general binary tree, heaps are primarily used for efficient priority queue operations, such as finding the maximum or minimum element in O of one time. Now let's move from trees to a broader and more versatile structures, graphs. So what is a graph? A graph is a collection of nodes called vertices connected by edges. Graphs are widely used in real-world applications such as representing social networks, roadmaps, and web pages. Some graphs have additional constraints that make them useful in specific scenarios. One such type is the directed acyclic graph or DAG. A direct acyclic graph DAG is a graph where edges have directions and there are no cycles. DAGs are commonly used in scheduling problems, dependency resolution like package managers, and topological sorting. Since there are multiple types of graphs, let's quickly go over the main classifications. So, what are the different types of graphs? Graphs can be categorized based on their properties. First one is directed versus undirected. In directed graphs, edges have direction, while in undirected graphs, they don't. Second, weighted versus unweighted. In weighted graphs, edges have associated weights, whereas unweighted graphs treat all edges equally. Third one is cyclic versus acyclic. A cyclic graph has at least one cycle, while an acyclic graph doesn't. Fourth one is simple versus multigraph. A simple graph has at most one edge between any two nodes, whereas a multigraph allows multiple edges between nodes. Now let's shift our focus to a powerful and efficient data structure for storing key value pairs, the hash table. A hash table is a data structure that maps key to values using a hash function. It allows for efficient data retrieval, typically in O of 1, making it ideal for applications like caching, database indexing, and symbol tables. The core of a hash table is the hash function, which determines where each value is stored. A hash function takes an input or key and maps it to a fixed size value, usually a number. This number serves as an index in the hash table. A good hash function minimizes collisions and distributes data evenly across the table. But what happens when two different keys produce the same hash value? That's called a collision. So, what is collision in hashing? A collision occurs when two keys generate the same hash value and are designed to the same index in the cache table. There are two common ways to handle collisions. First one is chaining. Each index stores a linked list of values that map to the same location. Second, open addressing. If a collision occurs, the algorithm searches for the next available slot. Now that we have discussed data structures, let's move on to how we retrieve data efficiently through searching algorithms. Searching algorithms help us find a specific value in a data structure. Two fundamental searching methods are: first one is linear search. This method checks each element one by one until it finds the greatest. This method checks each element one by one until it finds the target. It works on both sorted and unsorted data. Second is binary search. This method is much faster but requires a sorted array. It repeatedly divides the array in half, checking if the target is in the left or right half, reducing the search space exponentially. Since binary search is significantly more efficient, let's analyze its time complexity compared to linear search. Linear search has a time complexity of O of n, meaning it checks each element one by one. In the worst case, it may have to traverse the entire list before finding the target. On the other hand, binary search operates in O of log n time, making it much faster for large data sets. Now let's move to the next question. What is the time complexity of binary search? Binary search has a time complexity of log n. Because it repeatedly divides the data in half, this makes it significantly faster than linear search, especially for large data sets. While linear search checks every element, binary search eliminates half of the remaining elements in each step. Now that we have covered searching, let's shift our focus to another fundamental concept: sorting. A sorting algorithm is a method to arrange elements in a specific order, such as ascending or descending. Sorting is crucial in computing because many algorithms, including binary search, rely on sorted data. Some well known sorting algorithms include bubble sort, merge sort, and quick sort. Since there are multiple types of sorting techniques, let's take a quick look at the main categories. Sorting algorithm can be categorized based on their efficiency and approach. First is bubble sort, insertion sort, and selection sort. There are simple and easy way to understand, but insufficient and large data sets O of n square complexity. These are divide and conquer algorithms with better efficiency, O of n log n complexity. And the last, heap sort and Radix sort, used in specific scenarios such as priority queues or sorting numbers with fixed digit sizes. Now let's dive into one of the most commonly used sorting algorithms, quicksort. Quicksort is a divide and conquer sorting algorithm that works as follows. First, select a pivot element. Second, partition the array so that all elements smaller than the pivot go to the left and all larger elements go to the right. Third, recursively apply the same process to the left and the right sub-arrays until everything is sorted. Because of its efficiency and in-place sorting, quicksort is widely used in real-world applications. Another powerful divide and conquer sorting algorithm is merge sort. So let's understand how it works. Merge sort is another divide and conquer sorting algorithm. First, divide the array into two halves. Second, recursively sort each half. Third, merge the sorted half back together in a sorted manner. Unlike quicksort, merge sort guarantees O of n log n time complexity in all cases, making it ideal for sorting large data sets where stability is required. Now let's return to data structures and talk about an important variant of binary trees, binary search trees. A binary search tree (BST) is a special type of binary tree where the left subtree contains elements smaller than the node. Second, the right subtree contains elements greater than the node. This structure allows for efficient searching, insertion, and deletion operations. Let's explore why BSTs are so useful. The main advantages of a BST include: first, efficient searching. Searching for an element takes O of log n time in a balanced BST. Second, fast insertions and deletions. These operations are O of log n in a balanced tree. Third, ordered data storage. BSTs maintain elements in a sorted manner, making range queries easy. However, a BST must remain balanced to maintain efficiency. This brings us to self-balancing trees like the AVL tree. An AVL tree is a self-balancing binary search tree where the height difference between the left and right subtrees is at most 1. The key difference between an AVL tree and a normal BST is that an AVL tree maintains balance automatically using rotation after insertion or deletion. This ensures zero log n time complexities for all operations. Another type of self-balancing BST is the red-black tree, which also ensures efficient operations but follows a different balancing mechanism. A red-black tree is another self-balancing BST that maintains balance using these properties. First, each node is either red or black. Second, the root is always black. Third, no way consecutive red nodes exist. Fourth, every path from a node to its leaf has the same number of black nodes. Red black trees are widely used in databases, operating systems, and language libraries because they guarantee O of log and time complexity for insertions, deletions, and lookups. Now let's move away from trees and introduce an advanced programming techniques that optimizes complex problems, dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is an optimization technique used to solve complex problems efficiently by breaking them into overlapping subproblems. Instead of solving the same problem multiple times, DP stores intermediate result to avoid redundant computations. It is widely used in problems like Fibonacci sequence calculations, NAP-check problems, shortest path algorithm like Floyd-Watson. Dynamic programming can significantly improve the efficiency of recursive algorithm, making it an essential tool for coding interviews. We have just explored dynamic programming, an important problem-solving technique. Now let's discuss another powerful approach, greedy algorithms. A greedy algorithms follows a simple approach. At each step, it picks the best possible choice without considering future consequences. This approach works well when making logically optimal choices, leads to a globally optimal solution. Some well-known greedy algorithms include Dijkstra's algorithms for shortest paths. Second, Kruskal's and Prim's algorithms for minimum spanning trees. And the last, half-name coding for data compression. However, greedy algorithms don't always guarantee an optical solution. That's where dynamic programming comes in. So let's compare the two. Both dynamic programming and greedy algorithms are optimization techniques, but they differ in approach. First, dynamic programming (DP) breaks a problem into overlapping subproblems and stores intermediate results to avoid recomputations. Second, greedy algorithms make the best choice at each step without considering future steps. For example, in the coin change problem, a greedy approach may not always give the correct solution, while dynamic programming guarantees the optical solution. Now let's shift our focus to graph traversal techniques, starting with depth first search. Depth first search is a graph traversal algorithm that explores as far as possible along a branch before backtracking. DFS can be implemented using a recursion or a stack. It is useful for finding connected components, second, solving mazes, third, detecting cycles in graphs. An alternative graph traversal method is breadth first search, which works differently. An alternative graph traversal method is breadth first search, which works differently. Breadth first search (BFS) explores all nodes at the current depth level before moving to the next level. It is implemented using a queue and is useful for finding the shortest path in an unweighted graph. Second, crawling web pages. Third, solving puzzles like the shortest path in a maze. Now let's talk about an important graph algorithm, topological sorting. Topological sorting arranges the vertices of a directed acyclic graph in a linear order such that for every directed edge, vertex u appears before vertex v. It is useful for task scheduling, course prerequisites planning, third, dependency resolution in package management. Since we are discussing algorithm performance, let's now talk about space complexity. Space complexity measures how much memory an algorithm needs to execute. It includes fixed space constraints program code, second input related space, arrays, stacks, recursive calls. For example, a recursive function uses O of n space due to the function call stack, whereas an iterative approach might use O of 1 space if no extra data structures are used. Similarly, let's discuss the time complexity of algorithms. Okay, time complexity measures how the execution time of an algorithm grows as the input size increases. It helps us compare different algorithms based on their efficiency. For instance, linear search O of n, second binary search O of log n, third quicksort average case O of n log n. To describe time complexity formally, we use big O notation. What is big O notation? Big O notation represents the upper bound of an algorithm's time or space complexity in the worst case scenario. Common big O complexities include O of n, constant time, example accessing an array element. Second, O of n, linear time, example iterating through an array. Third, O of n square, quadratic time, example nested loops in bubble sort. Fourth, O of log n, logarithmic time, example binary search. Now let's break down different cases of time complexity. An algorithm's efficiency can be analyzed in three scenarios. First, best case. The minimum time required, example searching for an element at the start of an array. The minimum time required, example searching for an element at the start of an array. Second, worst case, the maximum time required, example searching for an element in the end. And the last, average case, the expected time complexity based on typical input. Understanding these cases helps in selecting the right algorithm for a given problem. Now let's end this section with a simple concept, sublist in arrays. A sublist or subarray is a contiguous sequence of elements within an array. For example, in the array of 5 elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, possible sublists include 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Sublists are often used in problem like sliding window algorithms, substring searches, dynamic programming programs like the maximum subarray sum. Now let's move to the next question. What is recursion? Give an example. Recursion is a method where a function calls itself to solve a problem in smaller parts. It is commonly used in problems that can be broken down into smaller, similar subproblems. A classic example is the factorial function. Okay, recursion is often compared with iteration, so let's explore their differences. Both recursion and iteration can solve the same problems, but they differ in approach. First, iterative approach uses loops for while to repeat actions. Second, recursive approach calls the function within itself to solve subproblems. Recursion often provides cleaner solution but can lead to stack overflow if not handled properly. To optimize recursion, we use memoization. Memoization is an optimization technique that stores the results of expensive function calls to avoid redundant calculations. Let's move to the next question. So, what is the difference between dynamic programming and memoization? Dynamic programming is a problem solving technique that breaks the problem into overlapping subproblems and stores their solution. Memoization is a specific dynamic programming technique that stores results only when needed, top down approach. Another approach in dynamic programming is tabulation, where results are stored in advance, bottom up approach. Now let's move on to the backtracking, another powerful technique. Backtracking is a problem solving technique that incrementally builds a solution that abandons choices that fail to meet the constraints. It is used in Sudoku solving and Kuhn's problems, generating all possible subsets. For example, in solving a maze, backtracking explores all possible paths and backtracks if a dead end is reached. A common application of backtracking is in generating the Fibonacci sequence, which also relates to dynamic programming. Now let's come to the next question. What is Fibonacci sequence? How is it related to dynamic programming? The Fibonacci sequence is a series where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. Without optimization, calculating Fibonacci n recursively leads to the O of 2 to the power of n time complexity. With dynamic programming, we store previous results, reducing time complexity to O of n. Let's move to the next question. What is the knapsack problem? The knapsack problem is a classic optimization problem where you have a set of items, each with a weight and value. You must select the optimal subset to maximize value without exceeding a weight limit. There are two types: 0 by 1 knapsack, each item is either included or not. Second, fractional knapsack, items can be taken in fractions, solved using a greedy approach. This problem is solved using dynamic programming for optimal results. So learners, let's move to the next question. What is a traveling salesman problem? The traveling salesman problem (TSP) is a combinatorial optimization problem where a salesman must visit a set of cities and return to the starting point while minimizing the total distance traveled. TSP is NP hard, meaning no efficient algorithms exist for large inputs. It is solved using dynamic programming, help curve algorithms, approximation algorithms, example genetic algorithms, greedy heuristics. Now let's revisit trees. What is the difference between a binary tree and a binary search tree? A binary tree is a general structure where each node has at most two children. A binary search tree (BST) follows a strict order. Right child is greater than parent and parent is greater than left child. BST allow efficient searching, insertion and deletion in O of log n time if balanced. But how do we determine if a tree is balanced? Okay, so let's understand this. A tree is balanced if the height difference between the left and right subtrees of any node is at most 1. For example, an avial tree maintains balance by performing rotations. A tree that is not balanced may degrade search operations to O of n time instead of O of log n. Alright, that brings us to the end of this video on data structures and algorithm interview questions. We covered a lot from trees and graphs to sorting, searching, dynamic programming, and recursion. These concepts are essential for async coding interviews, so make sure to revise and practice them with real coding problems. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know in the comments what topics or questions you would like me to cover next. I will see you in the next video. Keep learning, keep coding.